Hi, everybody. Today I'm going to show you the number one reason why you are making a mistake if you don't at least consider an annuity for part of your retirement plan. Hi, I'm Charles Cannon, certified financial planner. For the last 20 years, I've helped families just like yours provide an income base for their retirement so that they didn't have to rely only on their portfolio to have a great retirement. So let me share my screen and I will take you through our case study today. Now, as we take a look here, what we see is that we're working with a single woman, age 64. She retires next year at age 65. She needs $5,000 a month after tax. She currently has $1 million in her 401k, and it is set up in the classic 60-40 mix. She also inherited $200,000, which are currently in CDs from her parents. And next year at age 65, she would have $3,000 a month in Social Security. Fortunately, she owns her home free and clear, and her goals are that $5,000 a month after tax. We want to adjust that for inflation as she ages. She does not want to ever be worried about running out of money, so she likes guarantees. She enjoys travel. That's why she needs $5,000 a month, even though she really doesn't have a mortgage anymore. And she does have a couple of kids who are grown now and doing well, but she would like them to inherit a share of her estate someday. So let's take a look here at her current setup. You can see her current assets are $1.2 million. In her 60-40 portfolio plus 200,000 in CDs, the overall long-term history of that portfolio is about 7%. But what happens if she retires right into a negative market, meaning the type of market where it still averaged that 7%, but the sequence of returns are such that these early years are when the most negative years come in her overall portfolio. So as she retires, you can see here, there's her age 64. She still has her full salary. The next year she retires. And yes, her Social Security and her $200,000 of fixed interest banking is enough to provide her most of her need in those early years. But what happens in the future when she needs to start taking money from her 401k? Remember, it was $1 million 401k portfolio. If these early years in her retirement, and when we retire today, we don't know what the next 2 or 3 or 4 years look like, right? My parents retired in 1998. At that point, we had had 5 years of 20% or more. They thought that they were retiring into the best economy ever. Instead, just a little over a year after they retired, we hit the Y2K, which was 2.5 years of terrible markets. And then '08 and '09 came shortly after that. And so if she retires into a really bad market, she runs the risk that she may run out of reserve money when she's in her early 80s. Now, of course, yes, it's 25 years from now. So she's 86, 87, 88 years old, but nobody wants to be put in that position. Now, look what happens if she has the same exact portfolio, but instead she retires into a neutral, I mean, not the best, but not the worst, kind of a neutral market. There's still some down years in here or some flat years. But one of the nice things is the really bad 3 years, like we had in 2000, doesn't happen until later. If that happens, Then these yellow lines show that's money coming out of her 401k and her other investments. Look how much that grows. It's not just a gradual 2.5% more. Her 401k actually grows so much that her RMDs send more money out than she even really needed with her budget. So, yes, her 60/40 portfolio would work great if I could promise her just kind of an average future market. And her 1.2 million has grown to 1.6 million by the time we lose her at age 100. All right. But let's take the same set of circumstance. And the only change we make is that we take that 40% that is in bond funds and we turn that into guaranteed income. I call that a personalized pension. It is the type of annuity that pays you every year as long as you're living, and it can never run out. And so now she retires into that same negative market we talked about. Look at those 3 bad years right up front, and another really bad year looming in her future, but she doesn't know it. And again, because she now has all this guaranteed income in these early years, she isn't taking any money out of her 401k until RMDs start. And then it's not growing by just 2.5%. She still has an abundance of money in the future. So remember, it's still a negative market. Instead of being at age 100 with no extra money, she now about broke even in her total retirement portfolio. She had a little bit over 800,000 left, exactly like she started with. But what happens if she instead got that neutral market? Nothing is different except she has more guaranteed lifetime income. Well, look at that. She's at 1.45 million at age 100. See, here's the thing about using guaranteed lifetime annuities to supplement your retirement. When you do that, when you do that, it doesn't take away from your portfolio. It enhances the rest of your portfolio because now you can invest for the future. Since she doesn't need to start drawing off of her 401k as early, she can invest it with a long-term horizon. Even when she had a few losses in those early years, she almost doubled her portfolio by the time she was age 100. So, especially if you're a single woman and you're going to live into your late 80s or 90s, you have to be able to have a long term perspective. We've got to invest for the long term, and we need to make sure you've got all the income you need during your early retirement years. How do you begin? Well, if you click below, you can use our charlescannon.annuitiesgenius.com website. It is interactive and it can give you a starting point for the type of annuity that might be best for you. And then if you still want to talk with someone, come to cannonfg.com and schedule a 20-minute Zoom meeting. You get to talk to me, not a nameless, faceless person on a in a phone center somewhere, and we will do all we can to help you set up your portfolio so that you have guaranteed income no matter how long you live. And then you can decide if that's what's right for you. This is Charles Cannon, Certified Financial Planner. Remember, income is the most important part of your retirement. Bye now.